Hey, welcome to Know Concessions Sessions. As we do usually, we have guests that have something to do with what's happening here in downtown Winchester and Old Town. And today, in anticipation for our first annual Veterans Day celebration at the monument, we have people that are really tied to that community, as well as a lot of other interesting facts and depth. We have Adam here, represents an outfitting organization that helps veterans to get out and do some adventure, some thrill seeking, and some community building and networking. DeShon, who works as assistant athletic director,
assistant vice president.
Vice president. Oh wow, yes.
It's new. It's new.
Yes.
I was the assistant AD, and then 3 months ago, transitioned to an assistant vice president.
Amazing. And then Dr. White's here. This is. I just kept driving past the HIVE sign and wondering what was happening, and got curious about it. Did a little research, and found Dr. White, who's really cool about communicating him back with me. And then we do a Frederick County social collective where I met Adam about a week ago, and everything kind of just comes together as far as community that way. Thanks a lot for coming such short notice and making yourself available to me and to our audience and to our family here. Chris is in my corner today. There's Chris. So look forward to getting to know y'all a little bit better and helping the people that follow what the monument does as far as events, fundraising, and concerts to learn a little bit about what's happening in your world. So Dr. White, always dressed sharp, always professional, and really well-versed in veteran affairs, I believe, right?
Yeah, I think so. It's just been a great partnership, Justin. Really appreciate, you calling us from the monument. And when I say us, I'm with Shenandoah University now as an executive and management fellow, working with the provost there, Dr. Cameron McCoy. And so they're doing some exceptional things with the HIVE and other things to really support veterans. So just really excited to be here to really talk about some of those things.
Awesome. And I met DeShon last week when you brought him down, and also seems very eager to help in mentorship and helping our community and the student body that we have intertwined with the public-private partnerships all around.
Yeah, that's something that we're definitely interested in. And again, I want to kind of reiterate what Dr. White was saying. We really appreciate you taking the time to have these conversations with us, engage us in the community, and some of the really cool things that y'all have going on. So we appreciate it.
All right, Adam. Skydiving. That's what I heard when I first met you.
Yeah. So that's actually our biggest event to date. That's our most participated event. It's definitely full of adrenaline and camaraderie and brotherhood and sisterhood and family, and which is what we really like to push with all of our stuff. But yeah, it's all outdoor adventure, but the skydiving is definitely one of the best ones. We actually, back in July, we jumped 98 total combat veterans out of an airplane over 3 days. With plus ones, we call it. It was 120 total jumpers. The United States Parachute Association declared it the largest combat veteran tandem skydive event of its kind in the United States. So it's growing, and that's our goal. We want to help as many veterans as we can possibly help, not just with what we're doing with our outdoor adventure, but across the board with folks like Dr. White and other folks in the community who support and want to help our veterans and their families thrive and strive.
Cool. I think on Veterans Day there's going to be, it's a Friday the 11th, a game tournament, right?
Yeah.
EA Sports, sorry. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, actually on November the 11th, there'll be a couple things at Shenandoah University. The president, Dr. Tracy Fitzsimmons, will be hosting a HIVE groundbreaking. And so we talk about the HIVE. We're talking about a hub for innovators, veterans, and entrepreneurs. And, we can really go into details about what it's going to do to really support the community, what it's going to do to support veterans and entrepreneurs. But she's going to be hosting a groundbreaking ceremony that starts at 10 a.m. At Shenandoah University. And then following that, is going to be this huge esports tournament. And so Dr. Joey G, he runs the esports program over there at Shenandoah University, one of the oldest esports programs actually in the United States. They offer both bachelor's and master's in esports. But he's doing paired with Warrior GMR and Gold Star Families, Gold Star Gamers, to host a national esports tournament. And so they're going to be playing Valorant. They're going to be playing Smash Brothers. I'm not a big esports, so I know the terms. I got caught kind of playing. Man, when you in that vibe, it's kind of what you do. I was coming home, I was playing, I was enjoying it, but I created a whole different community just in that esports arena. And so to see how they use esports to really target veterans with PTSD, to get them bring them out of the rooms and back to integrate them with community. That's really what we're about. So huge esports tournament. It'll start at 10:30. It'll run throughout the day. And, they got prizes. It's just going to be a real fun event. So looking forward to it.
So people will actually physically be down there playing side by side, essentially. Cool. Whenever I get home from a hard day's work, I think that Madden sometimes is a way for me to decompress, because my brain is a busy brain and it just wants to focus in on that little task and reading those offenses and so on. It's a lot of fun.
Is that the same as Tecmo Bowl?
Those are my days right there.
Yeah, I remember Tecmo Bowl. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
Madden 99 or 98, I had that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I remember on the first ones I had, Emmitt Smith was on the Cardinals, and he just trucked everybody.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's cool. Hey, I saw some fireworks going off a couple weeks ago down there near where the Hive is. Was that associated with that, or was that homecoming or something?
Yeah, they had
It was nice.
And DeShon, you might be able to tell us a little bit more about homecoming.
Yeah, so homecoming was unbelievable this year. Our football team, we had an unbelievable game. We had a lot of alumni come out and support. There was alumni events all throughout the day. We had a couple of our athletic teams. They played. We had a good outing, but we also was able to celebrate and have some of our spring sports and some of our winter sports kind of engage in some alumni games. So we had former athletes come back and they were able to play and kind of get back immersed with Shenandoah. So it was unbelievable. We had a really big turnout, and we was excited, and a part of it, we was a little nervous because the weather wasn't looking great for that. And so we was a little nervous about it, but it went really well. We had a lot of alumni come back when we was downtown. The business school hosted an event in which they presented a couple of awards to some former alum who are doing some really amazing things. So hearing their stories was encouraging. Hearing the things that they're doing was encouraging. And then even have a bar crawl downtown with some of them afterwards. So it was good. It was a fun event. Great turnout. Definitely, I want to give a huge shout out to Krista Humphreys, who she was kind of the one that did a lot of that. Tina and Harley and all of them kind of did a lot of the coordination for a lot of the events that was going on. And so we heard nothing but positive things from a lot of the people that were able to come out and support homecoming weekend. So that was really fun. And then kind of gearing up from the homecoming, going into the groundbreaking. And so that's been exciting. It's kind of, again, sparking the interest, getting people from the community more involved. Dr. White had pointed out the groundbreaking on November 11th and the things that are going on. And we also want to iterate, it's open. Like anybody from the community, we would love to have you all come out, hang out, get to meet the individuals that are working on the Hive. Veteran organizations come out and get to see what the Hive is going to look like. Entrepreneurs, business owners, really get to kind of sink your teeth into what this is going to be. I do want to give a quick shout out. So on November 10th, we have a film that's being shown that talks about veterans and PTSD, and it's called Here's Better. And so we're really excited about that. It starts at 4:30 and it's open to the community. Anybody can come. You can watch it. There's going to be some snacks and some refreshments at 4:30, and then we'll kind of get rolling into the film. Film's about an hour and a half long. So if you're Thursday, November 10th, you don't have anything to do, you're looking for something to do, come out and join, and again, just kind of get to see what the Hive is and really get to become a part of it. And as Dr. White was talking about, we're hoping that this becomes a hub not just for Shenandoah University, right? For everybody in the community, the Winchester, Frederick County area, come there, be a part of it. And we would hope that this hive can kind of serve as a hotspot for a lot of the things that's going on. How do we give veterans the services that they need? How do we plug them in with the community that they need to be plugged into? How do we get entrepreneurs? How do we get them some of the things that is going to help them be successful? And then also engage our students. So would highly encourage November 10th, November 11th, please, it's open to everybody. Come out and see what the hive is about.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking about what you said and the engagement. This isn't new. I mean, I first met Adam when we were engaging to really support veterans. And that's when I learned more about his organization. But what you won't know or what he won't tell you, because, you know, he doesn't wear the pride on his shoulder. You know, he's humble. But he was leading a lot of the veteran efforts here. You know, for the longest time, he led the Northern Shenandoah Valley Community Veteran Engagement Board. And that was bringing together private, public, and non-governmental organizations in and around this area, bringing them together to work on, one, to really identify the veteran issues, and then to work on, you know, what could we do as a strategic whole to make some real progress in those areas. And so, you know, he transitioned to that. He's still doing great things with his organization, still trying to find active ways to get veterans involved, engaged, and then to transition them to the services that they need. So, and I can't say enough about Heroes on the River.
That's awesome. You know, you have a background working in veteran affairs. It seems that you have a passion for it. Adam, I know that you have a long line of legacy going all the way back to Civil War, World War I, World War II, and then your father served in the Middle East.
Vietnam and Desert Storm, yes. Yeah,
Okay.
On my mom's side, we had my third great grandfather was Illinois infantry. My dad's grandfather, my great grandfather, he was wounded in France in World War I. My grandfather, he fought in the Battle of Bastogne in World War II and was wounded twice with shrapnel. And then my dad served in Vietnam at Desert Storm. Both my parents were actually active duty when I was born. And it's just been a part of my entire life. It's ingrained in my blood and my heart and my soul and my veins and my everything.
I'd say so.
And Dr. White, you almost made me cry over there, buddy. Thank you for those kind words. I really appreciate that.
Hey, they're true.
What inspired you, Dr. White, to take that path? I know that, you know, public policy and strategy is a huge part of your expertise. But how did you become so involved with veterans?
You know, it's interesting. I think my path with veterans actually started in Portland, Oregon. And, you know, I started with the Department of Veteran Affairs out in Portland, Oregon, and was actually doing health and safety. You know, I always talk about, you know, I was an industrial hygienist. So the best way I can describe it is while everybody else was leaving the emergency, I was alone. So kind of moving to the emergency to actually exercise incident command and make sure that things were going to be under control. And so I loved it. I loved the job. Transitioned from there to actually start working in administration and just being in the VA. When you have an opportunity to serve those that have served our country, you know, some that even have given the ultimate sacrifice, families of those that have given the ultimate sacrifice. I mean, it does something to you. It's a real purpose to it. And I like to say that that's one of the greatest missions, organizational missions that exist, to serve those that have sacrificed to serve our country. And so when you begin to see that day in and day out, you begin to talk with these heroes, you begin to understand more and more about their sacrifice. You can't do anything but be committed to doing what you can to serve them. So again, I think we owe them. That's the least we can do, is to make sure that when they get back, they have the services that they need. We connect them to the organizations that can help. And so that's been my commitment, you know, and that's what brought me out to kind of the DC, the Virginia, the Maryland area. Is, you know, there was an opportunity to have responsibility to do it in a bigger capacity at the corporate level and to support VA medical centers across DC, West Virginia, and Maryland with instituting some of those programs. And I can't be in all of those areas and not do something in my own backyard. So because I was living in Winchester, by golly, we was going to be creating some of those same networks and providing some of those same services here. So I've loved the community. I've loved the engagement. And again, anything that I can do to support or serve, I'm here to do it.
I'm agreeing with a lot of what Frederick was saying right there. I tell you, when you really sit back and think about it, the only reason we're in here in this room, even right now, speaking freely, is because of the men and women who laid down their lives to give us this right. And that's the ultimate sacrifice. There's nobody that shouldn't be behind supporting that. And one of the most motivating things for us, and I know for Dr. White through all the work he's done, is the responses that we get back from those that we're serving in that community. I mean, it's really what motivates us. It gives us that drive. What really tells us that what we're doing is we're heading in the right direction. So we live in an unbelievable community where there are so many people that care about our veterans and our military.
Absolutely.
And what should be our mission collectively for those folks who are doing that type of work is to build this huge team of people who can not just change our community here locally, but maybe even change our country as a whole, for the resources that are out there for our veterans. So it's vital for us to have these resources, these multitudes of resources, these people who are passionate about this mission to all come together and work as a unified body, because that's how you really actually make a difference. Individuals can do a lot, but a team, a group of like-minded people with positive outlooks on making the lives of someone else other than yourself better is what really truly is going to continue to grow those resources and make reduce those numbers of veterans, unfortunately, that are taking their own lives. Because like Dr. White said, we want those veterans who are recluse, who are don't understand, or when they get out of the military, the biggest issue is transition. Mm-hmm. We have not properly transitioned our service members and are still not doing it to this day as a whole. Groups like ours and what Frederick is doing and all these other folks around here, for right now, it's our duty to kind of get them those resources, because we don't want them to get stuck in that cycle of sitting in their room depressed, thinking about suicide, or thinking like, hey, there's nothing out there for me. But there's a whole lot. And it's not just Joe Blow walking down the street saying, I want to help a veteran. This is people really getting in there, getting embedded, making the difference. These are veterans. We're getting a lot of these combat veterans together with other combat veterans who understand them, make them feel comfortable, let them know and show that, hey, there's a whole lot of life out here. And there's a lot of people who are in your same position and been through the same things you do. And it's not about sitting around and talking about your feelings. It's about getting back out, getting that same camaraderie, that same family environment, that same mentality that just nobody else, unless you served in the military, really understands. Or if you're, like Frederick says, for a lot of the families, it's not just the veteran that serves, it's the family that serves. So it's just as vitally important for us to have those resources for the families as well, like this Gold Star event that they're doing here. I mean, that is the ultimate sacrifice. These families have lost their loved one to the sacrifice of this nation. And so it's extremely important for us to not just help the veteran, but help them as well.
So you sound really energized and passionate about it. I think like what I was getting from what you're saying is seeking action. So by that I mean taking action, doing something, taking thoughts, taking empathy, and moving it forward into with energy into something. And you can have a great set of soft skills, and you can have empathy, but you can never actually have full empathy with someone unless you've lived in their world. You can get really close, I assume, just by being really engaged and so on. So it would be necessary. There's only certain things that someone that's been through that would truly understand, and that's why it's good that you're there. It's also good for a group of men to be able to identify where each person has been and what their best skill set would be to take action in a community sense, which kind of is why we're here and having this conversation in a vault.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate enough to be able to have strategic leadership and directions of mission, values, and partnerships with the Monument Entertainment Group. So when I was looking at when Chrissy came aboard as our event manager, she had a relationship with the Fisher House.
Mm-hmm.
And so we wanted to, and when Chris got in and we redeveloped our menu, print on the menu that $1 of every soda bread, which is an Irish traditional appetizer or starter, would go towards Fisher House. And then we wanted to finish the year before the holiday season at Veterans Day, being able to provide free entertainment for veterans. And then Chris is also, we're offering free burgers at Ellie's that day for veterans and active military and so on. But we want to measure outputs of businesses. For private businesses, sometimes they're starting to understand in a supply chain what your outputs happen to result in. So, for example, ours are calorie intake that will become energy, that will become, or we'll create memories for people, entertain them with music or art. And then beyond that, the output to the external stakeholder of any privately owned business in this community, being it's growing rapidly and small now. So the transition from small to larger can be complex in both scaling poverty, new investment capital that's coming in, and how that all is going to work out. Having something in place for veterans, for innovators is important. It also, innovation for our organization is key because the founder is a mechanical engineer, and we find ourselves all the time in gray areas. Gray areas meaning there's not a handbook on how to handle certain situations. So chef deals with a lot of gray area. And what did you have to make the other day? Mayonnaise from scratch. There was some panic. Chris, no panic. We're going to make the mayonnaise.
Yeah.
You can make mayonnaise. Yeah. So, and then sometimes when we're solving problems that we can't really write down, we have to innovate in how we solve it. And sometimes that means even developing a tool or whatever. And then we have a lot of people in our neighborhood, as that, I've got to know them now for almost a year, that are in transition from homelessness to not, and we don't know their background and story. People that want jobs, that want opportunities. People aren't prepared for those jobs sometimes. So that's when I was thinking about how do we move forward after Fisher House for our next, and nothing against that organization. It's a great organization.
Yeah, Fisher House is a great organization.
But we wanted to work something closer. And so I was like, well, we've got to get it as close as we can. And it's pretty much as close as it could get, the Hive. And it kind of checks all kinds of boxes. All Veterans Affairs are important to us. A lot of our guests, they really love metal music and blue collar country and so on. There seems to be, what I think it is when you come from certain parts of the Southeast, it's almost like 100% chance you better support your uncle, he's out at war, or you better support your neighbor, or your daddy did this or whatever. It's like ingrained. And sometimes areas of poverty have probably a high recruitment rate for military. I know I had considered that at one point when I had relocated to part of Virginia at 18, 19 years old. So our family was not in favor of that decision strongly. But things had changed since they were young. My father had the Kent State era, right? I never had anything like that. Mm-hmm. It's always been ever since elementary school, we would support our veterans. I remember when they would come home from Iraq, we had the yellow ribbons and stuff, and we had all kinds of flags out and all that. And that was as a small child.
Yeah.
So it was never that polarizing since it was always unity.
Well, it's funny that you say that, Justin, because even when we start talking about the National Guard Armory, a lot of people still have fond memories of the events that they either did, dances that they had in the armory. People remember watching the military service members as they were deploying. So a lot of fun memories as we talk to kind of people around the community. I'll just tell you again, when we talk about the Hive, it's really 3 focus areas. And so one is really focused around innovation. And so we have a SU Center for Immersive Learning. We call it our Skill Lab, but it's focused around AR, VR type of technologies. We have we talked a little bit about the academic esports program, and then our SU Center for Transformative Learning. But the HIVE also gives us the opportunity to really pursue and support some of the emerging fields like cybersecurity, forensics, data analytics, and blockchain. And so when we think about innovation, think about this space where when you have those problems, they can be as simple as mayonnaise, or they can be more complex city problems that need a solution. This is a place where we can bring groups and say, let's figure this problem out. Let's identify kind of what the gaps are and move towards a solution. And so in addition to innovation, you also have this focus around veterans. And so SU already has a center in the School of Business that provides some services for veterans, but this is really going to expand that. And the idea is that the HIVE will be that anchor. When you're thinking about where do I go? You know, I need some type of veteran services. We want everybody to be able to say, well, have you checked out the HIVE? And in no way is it one organization that's doing this. So you're talking, you got veteran service organizations, you got private businesses, you got the Red Cross, you got United Way, you got a whole, you know, the Chamber of Commerce, who they're all attached. We're doing this together. And I think that that's the power of the Community Veteran Engagement Board. And we're bringing all of those resources and going to make them available to veterans as they access the HIVE for homeless benefits, employment benefits, life skill training, peer support, counseling or suicide prevention. All of those things are going to be available. The last component of the HIVE is really focused on entrepreneurs. And so you might be somebody that's just thinking about, you know, you're in that ideation stage. You're just thinking about business. You have a business idea, but you don't know where to go. You know, there'll be this place for incubation, for you to kind of think through what is it that you need to turn that idea into an actual business. Maybe you have a business, but it's time for you to grow and you're going through this acceleration stage. Well, we'll be able to leverage the School of Business at Shenandoah University and some of the business courses, the seminars, the certificates, for people who don't have all of the tools that they need to be able to use the 3D printers or laser cutters, or even take part in our visual arts program. All of those things will be made accessible, not just to our learners, our faculty, and our staff, but also to the community members that need it. And so this is a community effort, right? I always like to say we're either going to sink together or we're going to swim together. And so this is everybody coming together, leveraging your skills, your resources, and being committed to growing together.
DeShon, how do you marry up in this equation with a background in athletics and sports management? Mm-hmm. And it sounds like through COVID, you did an excellent job in pushing forward to keep things in order and adapt to that situation.
Yeah. So when I initially came into Shenandoah University, it was kind of at that height of COVID, right? And I came in as an assistant athletics director. And a huge part of that is I was housed in the business school where I taught. So I taught sport law, I taught governance and policy, I taught intro to sport management. And so I was able to kind of get invested in the business school and our learners in that area. And then kind of as that's progressed, my experiences fundraising outside of Shenandoah University and working through advancement kind of led me into this route. And so into my position and what I'm doing now. And so kind of my part with the HIVE is working very closely with Dr. White, working very closely with the constituencies of the HIVE, and then being able to pool resources that can make all of those amazing things that Dr. White had talked about kind of come to fruition. And then how do we build connections across the community? How do we pull those people into what is going on at the HIVE? How do we set it up to be a hub in which people from business owners, veteran organizations, individuals who maybe want to pursue education, but they don't have certain facilities that will allow them to do it in a traditional sense? How do we bridge that gap for everybody? And so my main goal or my main role in this is to help go out and get those resources, spread the word, build relationships and connections with people in the Winchester, Frederick County area, and then pour it into this kind of center in which all of those amazing things that Dr. White had talked about can start to kind of actually happen, right? And so talks like this, like working with you, Justin, and hearing your passions and some of the things that you're interested in, mentoring, teaching, stewarding of young men, right? All of those things. That's exactly what we want to see happen at the Hive. And so how do we then take your passions and your interests, and how do we take the things and the reach that Monument Entertainment has, right? All of the resources that y'all have, how do we then marry those? How do we marry the passions that you all have? Adam, the amazing things that you're doing, how can we support you more, right? How can we support the efforts that are already going on, and then try to have a centralized location that makes it a lot easier to access these things? It makes it a lot easier to spread the word, and it gives you a place that if you have questions, concerns, or if you just want to grow your mind, this is a place that you can come do it. As Dr. White had mentioned, it's not a place just for our learners. And I think that's something that you're going to hear often, is that this is a community event. This is a community place in which we hope it's literally buzzing constantly with people from all around coming to this area to really dive into it and see what amazing things can we do in here, right? How can we utilize VR? We're trying to train learners and entrepreneurs and innovators and get veterans involved in potential career opportunities, which those jobs probably don't even exist right now, and give them the skill set to go out and create jobs, give them the skill set to go out and use their sphere of influence, right, to push along whatever passions that they have, right? And so that's kind of my role within the Hive right now, and working with Dr. White and some really just brilliant people with Dr. McCoy and all of them who really saw a vision for this. My job is to go out and say, okay, how can we get the resources to make these things a reality?
Right. You're the Ben Franklin of it.
We'll see. We'll see how I do first. We'll see how I do first.
That's cool. How did you start your business? Speaking of a veteran with an idea, moving into an action.
For the nonprofit.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so
you have two businesses, right?
I do. I'm a home improvement contractor by trade, and that's kind of what funds my life and really allows us to operate our nonprofit 100% nonprofit. Okay. So I've always wanted to do something to give back to my military community, and we were donating to a nonprofit organization that was not really putting their funding where it should be going, and we said, hey, you know what? Let's just create our own path. We wanted to do something where every penny of what we raised directly funded what we did, so we could help as many of our combat veterans as possible. And the beginning, we didn't know what we wanted to do, so we had a couple of events on the Shenandoah River in Boyce where we had barbecue and live music and catered food and lawn game. We already said that, but lawn games and of course, camaraderie and brotherhood and sisterhood. All of our events are private; they're not open to the public. But we just at that point we really weren't sure what direction we were going to take, and we just decided, outdoor adventure is it's been a part of my life. Being adventurous, being in the military and the infantry, and doing a lot of things like that. I know that what feelings that provides to me. So I thought that'd be the best thing to kind of the direction for us to take. So we decided to get into some outdoor adventure, and as we've grown, the adventures have grown. The skydiving event got added after we had some folks that we were working with at Shenandoah University that were skydiving and recommended us, and we started having a bass fishing tournament and a couple charter fishing trips and some hiking and camping on the Appalachian Trail, and now it's just blossomed and exploded from there. And we're a 501c3, and my wife and I plan to set up and schedule every single one of our events personally. We're the first ones there and the last ones to leave, and we love being a part of this great community here, and that's kind of what's helped us grow as an organization, really, to have all these folks around us who are like-minded and motivated and wanting to have the same mission in mind. And that's, it doesn't matter what you're doing when you're providing a service to veterans. There's no competing organizations. I don't care if there's 10 other organizations that do what we do and we're all working together. As long as the veteran's getting the resource, their family's getting the resource, that's all that matters. So what's so good about this community is that there's so many people who have that same exact mentality. And that's actually motivated us as well, not just the responses but from our veterans, but from those that we're working around and working together with. They've also been a motivation for us to kind of really push this thing forward and grow it and see where it can take us. But yeah, just started off with an idea, and and it just started blossoming, and we just kind of rolled with it.
Yeah.
I'm ADHD, and so I am 10,000 miles an hour, and I do 10,000 different things at one time, and for me to kind of transition into that and be all over the place with it is kind of like my element.
Right.
So I feel like right now at this time of my life, with everything that's happening with family and business, my home improvement business and the nonprofit and all the work that's happening around us, all the things we're seeing that are lining up for our veterans and their family members, is just like, I don't think we could really be in honestly a better place in my life. And that's super motivating. And we want to continue to grow this thing and see where it goes, still stay humble with it and keep it to us, running everything, but continue to work with all these other great organizations and folks like Dr. White and the rest of these folks that are creating this awesome hub, not just for our community, but for veterans and their families, and giving them all these resources. So, hopefully this kind of motivates other people, what we're the work that we're all doing together to kind of jump on board and do the same thing. Or like you said, be an entrepreneur, turn some of these, a lot of these veterans, that entrepreneur mentality, if it's already in their brain, it's there. They just have to, take that step. Sometimes they might be a little hesitant or whatever, but you could put a lot of these veterans also in some of these roles where they're giving back to other veterans through entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
So it's
Curfew is my first adoptee in the world of business.
mm-hmm.
I'm trying to get this guy to get his LLC together so he can get the tax benefits of all the travel and expenses that he invests his money in for his DJ life. You getting on that?
I'm anti-government,
That's got nothing to do with it. All right. You're hilarious.
Taxes.
Oh, man. So, like, if we were to say we're a partnership with you all, right? We're contributing to, then you would distribute those things evenly, or how does that work?
Yeah, again, right now so when you think about the Hive, we're in the process, we're in phase 1. So it's 2 or 3 phases. And the first phase is really converting that building from what it was used for, being a National Guard armory, to actually being a place that could better serve the community. And so that means really the shell of the building, some of the major systems like the HVAC, the electrical, the plumbing, making sure that all of those things are working properly, that the building is safe so that there are no hazards. And then we move into phase 2 where we really start to program, do the programming. And so build out kind of what that veterans military family center is going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
All of the services that are going to be available, the people that are going to be there. We talk about being able to provide some spaces. And so the Hive is really going to have a lot of flexible spaces where a lot of different types of events can happen. There might be a concert or something, or a big presentation in there one day, and then the next day it may be set up for, some type of innovative or collaborative interaction. I'll tell you from our president, the Shenandoah University president, Tracy Fitzsimmons, she's always focused and really committed to engaging and inspiring every learner, every student. And so she wants to make sure that she's giving and paying attention to every individual student that sets foot on Shenandoah University. Well, in the same way, we're going to be doing the same thing for our veterans, right? Like, we're expanding it not just to our veterans, our veteran learners, but also to every single veteran that we engage with in the community. And, I've heard my name way too much today, because it's not me. It's really all of the great people that are around me. I have an opportunity to work in collaboration with and work in community with. And that's kind of the greatest gift that I could have, is being a part of all of these great organizations, all of the energy already here to support veterans. I mean, the monument is just, wow, another organization that says, you know what, I want to help, I want to support. How can I do it? And I'm just so grateful that the Hive is providing a way for everybody to come together, get involved, and really continue to push the community and the region forward.
Yeah, and it's nice to see businesses like this really embrace this ideal in this community, because really all businesses that develop in their communities should be about their community. And to see an operation of this size really kind of put yourselves out there as wanting to support and help in any way you can, I think really says a testament a lot to your organization and your business, because we need a lot more organizations and businesses like that within our community.
We're just babies right now, getting it going.
We're getting started.
Big funny babies, but just getting it. We're in our infancy for real. Hopefully, me and Chris talk all the time. We're like, in a few years, we'll be like, hey man, remember when there was dust and people were blowing holes in the walls? I'm like, yeah, those are good old days. Just every moment, you should just enjoy where you're at on that part of the journey. You know, we do look for optimism in the future of our organization and in town and all that, but just enjoy today's journey, you know. Speaking of journeys, sorry, I have to ask this. So we have an athlete here. You want to tell us a little bit about the slot, man?
Yeah. So, like, just my career?
Yeah, that's cool, man. It's like, how many, what is it statistically? What are the odds, you know, that you even made it to the league, right?
I think it's something like less than 2.5%, less than 3%.
Well, there you go. So the likelihood of me having another athlete in here is probably similar. 2% chance.
Yeah. No, definitely. So yeah, my career, I wasn't that good. I think so people hear like, oh, NFL.
You had a 4.240.
I was fast. And so that's what got me pretty far. The problem was, as y'all see me, I'm not that big. 5'10", $180, like on a good day. So when I got caught and I got hit, the hits kind of added up and it took a toll on me a lot quicker. But I'm from Virginia, and I was very fortunate enough coming out of high school weighing like 145 pounds to get a couple offers to play college football at the Division I level. The University of Connecticut was one that stood out to me just for their academics, the style of play that they had. I was a running back initially. And so I know people don't believe that. I was a running back. And so that I looked at UConn and I was like, you know what? They were a good program at the time, playing in the Fiesta Bowl against Oklahoma, won the Big East. All of their running backs up until that point, Jordan Todman, Donald Brown, a lot of those guys had went pro. And I was like, you know what? I want to do what they've done. And so I went up, played running back, quickly learned that I'm probably not built to be a running back. And so I got moved around a little bit, played receiver, really earned my keep as a punt returner and as a kick returner. Played wide receiver my senior year, played some quarterback. That's not a testament to my athletic ability. It was a testament to where we were. We had like 4 quarterbaks go down. We were just desperate at that point. But we had a really cool win against University of Central Florida at that time, who was like undefeated in the conference play, and that was their first conference loss, which was cool.
Heupel wasn't the coach yet, right?
Where at?
Central Florida.
To be honest with you, I don't remember.
Okay.
I know Blake Bortles and then was the quarterback, and they had a running back like Stormy Johnson. They were unreal. Like, they were a really good team. Yeah. But I don't remember who the head coach was at that point. And then I had got the opportunity to try out because I didn't get drafted. Wasn't on anybody's draft boards, and I looked everywhere. And then my agent called and was like, there was a couple teams. There was like 3 teams that wanted me to come out for a tryout. So it's like rookie minicamp, right? So you get out there, it's like 67 guys that are trying out in addition to the draft 7 picks. Or 8 that they drafted. And I went out there on a tryout basis. You get 3 days basically to prove that you are NFL caliber talent. And the last day of practice, you're kind of walking off the field and you're trying to walk really slow because the scouts are pulling people aside that you might have caught somebody's eye, right? And so I'm walking as slow as I can to the locker room because I'm just like, all right, somebody come pull me aside and be like, you're the guy. And I get there, and then God pulls me aside, and he's like, hey, we really liked what you was able to do in these 3 days. We're not going to sign you right now, but kind of talk to your agent, and we might come around in about a week or a year. And I was like, all right. I didn't like the timeline of between a week and a year. I didn't know. So I went back to Connecticut, packed my stuff up, came back down to Virginia, got in, hung out with the family for 2 days, and then I get a call from the Seahawks that they're going to bring me on to their roster. And so I had signed a 3-year deal with them. Went out there, practice squad most of my practice squad, all of my first year out there. Second year, started playing a lot better. Really found my groove. Got to see some action in a couple games. Mostly made my weight as a punt returner. Hung out for a little bit. Tore my hamstring. That wasn't cool. Ended up going on waivers, and then went to the Jets. So I was in Seattle for about 2 years, and then I went out to New York. I was with the Jets for a couple months, and then a guy named Brian Arakpo, who played for the Titans, we was playing him in a preseason game, and he's a big dude, and so he hit me. My neck felt weird. I was like, all right, you know what? I think I'm just gonna go get some more degrees. And stop playing football. So I had enough time in the league. I got a cup of coffee. I got to shake some cool hands. I got to meet some really cool people. Pete Carroll was an unbelievable coach. Probably one of my favorite coaches. The coaching experience that I got. So
I think that's being proven right now.
He's. I'm telling you, he's good. And he's a. I remember one of the stories I have with Pete is, I was a tryout guy. Like I wasn't a draft guy. I wasn't somebody that you looked at and you're like, he's going to make the roster, right? I wasn't that. I was the guy that you kind of look at as like, all right, that's a filler. He's just a practice body. And then come regular season, he'll go get a job somewhere. And then I remember it's like day 3 of training camp, and I catch a slant, and I'm trying to house everything. So as soon as I catch something, I don't care how many people hit me. I'm running all the way down, and then we go back in the film room, and they're playing the films, because at the beginning of the film, they'll kind of show like highlights of last practice, right? So they put the highlight up. I catch the ball and I'm running, but the coolest part of that was I look over on the left side of the screen, and Coach Carroll is like sprinting down the field with me. I'm like, this is like a third string rep, right, with guys that you probably have never hear of again, and he's as hyped as can possibly be, running down the field with me, celebrating, meeting me in the end zone to celebrate that catch. So he's a player's coach. It was easy to see why guys attach themselves to him. They believe in him. He's able to take talent, because even if you look through that stretch where the Seahawks was going to Super Bowls back to back and they were just unbelievable, you look at their receivers, they had 1 or 2 drafted guys. Their main guy, Doug Baldwin, was undrafted. Jermaine Kearse was undrafted. Chris Matthews was undrafted. A lot of these guys were undrafted with a third round quarterback, and Russell Wilson, third or fourth round quarterback, right? Who's no taller than me. And what he's able to do, even guys like Michael Bennett, these weren't highly drafted guys, right? But they did a really good job of developing their talent and then building a program. Day one, when I got there, I felt like I was a part of the team. And in the NFL, that doesn't happen. Yeah. Right. And so it was a cool experience. It was a really cool experience.
Some of that transitioning over to what you're doing now in your role as far as being in a leadership capacity?
Yeah, definitely. I think my experiences in athletics has molded me in everything that I do, the way that I think, the way that I operate, how I do things, my commitment to the people I work with, and my passion to the people I work with. I see myself as you talk about leadership, but I see myself, and I think I've tried to model a lot of what Coach Carroll, how he does it, right? He's a servant leader. What can he do to make you better? What can he do to help you be successful, right? And in my leadership style, I've tried to take that on. What can I do in my position to help you be better? What can I do in my position to help you grow as an individual, in your work, in your passion, and whatever you're doing? How can I help elevate you to where you want to be, right? And then in turn, that lifts everybody. That brings the enterprise up. That brings them up. It brings the collective up. And so I would definitely say that and I've had a range of coaches, right? I was under Pete Carroll. Todd Bowles was my head coach with the Jets. I had 4 different head coaches in college. That ranged from Pasqualoni to Coach TJ Weiss, who's with the Ravens right now, one of my all-time favorite coaches. And I got to see a lot of different styles of leadership. And through that, I was kind of like, you know what? I like that. I don't like that.
Yeah.
This motivated me. This motivated this person. This did not. And one of the things that I learned is not everybody operates the same. It's not, you can't have a cookie cutter definition of leadership and then try to apply that to everybody. People will react differently to things.
Yeah.
And I think Coach Weiss and Coach Carolyn, they did a really good job of getting to know the player, getting to know who they're working with, and then tailoring their messages to that particular individual. And I think that's what's made them pretty successful.
I find the biggest struggle in that is like in business, you have a lot of black and white. You have standardization, policies, HR, and so on. And then you have assistant managers and leaders that you work with that are there's a lot of that gray area circumstantial stuff. I remember one time I used Jimmy Johnson as an example, the story of where Troy Aikman had fallen asleep in the video room or whatever, but he didn't wake him. And another guy had done that a few days before, but that other person was a third or fourth string, and he cut that player, but he didn't cut Troy. And he used the philosophy, you know, his leadership style or coaching style with individuals would change. I tried to use that in a manager meeting once, and after that it was just it got complicated. It's not applicable all over. I don't know if there's a Troy Aikman in the service industry, but knowing like when to do servant leadership and when you got to turn it up a notch is what I think is only. I guess I would gain that through wisdom and experience. I don't know. But that's what I struggle with today is when to push the discipline because I think people need that. And then some people do not need that. You can never really identify the when is the perfect time for it.
I think a part of that, though, is and I'm sure that you do this, right? People know that you care about them.
Yeah, I think so.
Right? They know that you care. So I think that when you go into it with that mindset, because Coach Carroll, don't get me wrong, he was a servant leader, but wasn't all
light your ass up.
Yeah, it wasn't all rainbows and good job for trying. If you didn't do well, you got cut.
Yeah.
But I think that understanding your people, understanding how they react to stuff, and then I do think though, and what we do is very different than the NFL, like a lot of times, right? But understanding it, and I think that when somebody has an understanding that you genuinely care about them, you genuinely care about their work, and you genuinely care about the enterprise, I think having those tough conversations is a bit easier when they understand that perspective. It doesn't make the conversation itself easier, but they can take the criticism a little bit better. That, from what I've found, right?
Sure.
Because we've gone through and we've built these relationships, and hopefully, and it doesn't happen all the time, but hopefully whoever I'm engaging in that conversation with, they know through my experiences of work or their experiences of working with me, my intentions is to make, like at Shenandoah, my intentions is to help our learners be successful. That is my anchor. My anchor is I want our learners here to have the best experience possible, gain as much knowledge as they possibly can, and then be able to go out and have an impact in the world. And everything funnels through that. Yeah. Right.
No, I've actually heard that come from the provost, Cameron McCoy. You know, he talks about really three principles: centering learners, centering trust, and centering equity. And you all have been talking a lot about trust, you know, trust in the institution, trust in the people that are engaged in the institution. But trust is built on, one, being a person of integrity, you know, being, you know, the same day in and day out, whether people are looking or not looking. People see that you're committed to them in their growth. You know, what's the that adage says something like, people don't care what you know until they know that you care.
Yeah.
Right. They really care when people know that you really care about them, that you're ready to remove some of those barriers for their success. Then they'll invest in you, and that comes from respect. You know, respecting everybody, respecting. You know, even if I disagree with your choices, even if I disagree with what you're doing, I can still respect the person. I can separate what you're doing from the person, and then having some sense of empathy or compassion. You know, we all come from a different environment, and that environment creates a way of thinking for us. And so for me to recognize some of my own biases and then give you the space to grow in yours, to have that patience, that compassion with each other, I think is critical for growth together.
Well, we're going to be having some fun here next Friday. So we're going to send a team out to your site.
Yeah.
You can see some of the better half of our team out there promoting our brand and the event. And then that night we'll have a show here. I think, Adam, you'll be here, right?
Yes, sir.
You guys are invited anytime.
Yeah, Dr. White and I are going to, you know, it's great. You know, I appreciate you inviting us and all and having us here. And we're, you know, our resource is, you know, much needed for our veteran community. But like I was saying, it's not just about us. So my first thought was, to have Frederick along with us because of all the great work that he's doing through the CVEB, the Community Veterans Engagement Board, and how many different resources and businesses and organizations and that are involved in that are just well beyond just what we do as Heroes on the River. So I thought it was vitally important, since it's a veteran deal, that we have not just us, but a multitude of resources here. And that's like a one-stop shop. What the CVEB is, like Frederick said, we put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into getting this thing up and running. And it's really nice to see that after all of that effort, that this thing is really growing, and we're adding a lot of different businesses and people and organizations and entrepreneurs into this team effort that is really going to hopefully definitely change the lives within our community. But like I said before, hopefully that can bleed out into, our surroundings.
Well, I think I'm feeling pretty good at the end of my first year as far as identifying who we want to be partnerships or have partnerships and ongoing relationships with. Obviously, we want to open that up to more people, but we have that backbone of that. That's our squad that we started with. And then, people, when you're first getting started, they don't know, hey, is this guy playing a gimmick? He's going on the trend, or is he legit identifying business partners and public-private partnerships on purpose because it's the right thing to do on an ethics level, right?
Absolutely.
So we got Katie Teet Bradshaw. That's awesome. I think we'll continue to help that organization. Ken and Nancy McKee Foundation. We'll continue to help them. Love Miss Powers down into Laurel. She's awesome. Brandon's great at Winchester Rescue. You're cool. You're cool. You're cool. I don't know curfew. Yeah, it might not be cool, man. No, you're super cool. So Marquez Puckett and 8 Second Ride, those are some fellas that I used to run around with in East Tennessee. They'll be here playing country music, and they do all the covers of the 90s and whatnot. And then Mark Colleen will be here. He's a veteran solo artist. He's really good. And then another guy, last name is Donnie Isaacs. He's also a veteran singer-songwriter. And then, Chris, are you doing anything crazy on the menu yet? You thought about it? He's not. You're going to be worried about free burgers all day. So we're going to have the meanest smashed quarter pounder you ever had.
Give them all patriotic names, like veteran military related names, like the Bradley Burger. Bradley Fighting Vehicle Burger or something crazy.
Oh yeah. What would we call the Humvee? Would that be a
the hump burger?
Some sort of daiquiri.
Humvee hot dog.
Yeah.
All right, guys. What kind of music you want to see us? You have any artists regionally or like maybe B, C level? I can't afford certain ones.
Ian No.
Ian No?
Ian No.
What is that?
Man, he's kind of like Dylan, man, but he plays a slide guitar, and he's he's excellent. A little bit like Bob Dylan.
I didn't know some of these artists when I took the job, and now I know them. Regionally, country especially. I really didn't listen to much country music other than what I grew up with. Definitely didn't listen to Curfew's robot techno music, except for Skrillex.
If you could get like, who's I just had his name in my head. He's a country singer. Coulter Wall. If you could get Coulter Wall here, my wife would probably, it would be the end all be all if you got him.
Oh,
here.
no.
Coulter Wall. We actually were going to see him. We were leaving the house and going to drop my son off with some friends of ours to watch him for the night. And she got the email that the show had been canceled.
Oh.
And so, yeah. It
was tough. We didn't start our schedule off till March because COVID had a resurgence kind of last year, quarter 1 of 22, I'm sorry. So it's really cool. We're going to try to do January, February shows this year. I'm excited about that. I think that'll help us because we have a really nice, cozy indoor environment. And I think about February we'll have another level of this thing finished too. So even more cool places to go. I could see you guys having business meetings in there with your suits.
Yeah,
this place we're building is
wouldn't mind that.
So classy.
Yeah, wouldn't mind that.
Yeah. We've been having a hell of a debate for about a week now about clear ice. You have a biology degree, right? So I don't know if chemistry, I guess, is ice. Okay. Mm-hmm. Definitely is. All right. So look, man, if I mass produce, by mass, I mean 36 at a time, clear spheres of ice. They have to. It's going to take 18 to 24 hours. I'm thinking of using distilled water and boiling it twice, or just regular filtered water, boiling it twice, letting it get warm, and freezing it. All right, so it should do top down, pushing impurities to the bottom. So at least I'm going to get 50% yield, super clear spheres of ice, right? That's
That
hypothesis,
sounds
dude.
good. Yeah.
But then my problem is that I'm trying to figure out is how can I store them? If I store them, am I now increasing exposure to frozen temperatures? This guy says if I insulate them in silicone after they've reached a certain temperature, then they'll maintain that clarity. If I can maintain clarity and increase the inventory, we can have clear spheres. But clear spheres only go with top level cocktails or a certain single malt. Because I can't get into business doing Jack and Cokes with clear spheres. Anyway, that's what we've been troublesome over the last few days, among other things, to get this thing rolling, dude. It's gonna be super awesome down there.
Yeah.
Chris, you got anything you want to say, dude? This is the quietest. I'm so sorry, Chris.
It's
Yeah.
sweat, man.
Hey, you're here for the horror movie ones, man. I couldn't. Couldn't hang.
That's one we had last week.
Well, thank y'all for being here. I think that is there anything that you wanted to add or share with our community at all? That No Concessions Sessions listeners.
We're a big team. That's what I can say.
Yeah.
Is, let's just keep growing this team and keep motivating each other and moving forward, and and helping people get into positions where they can be most effective in whatever environment they're in, whatever the resource may be. So.
What's your contact for people that may have any sort of inquiries, or if they want to volunteer or donate or be involved with
Heroes in the River, or just as a whole?
Anywhere.
Yeah, well, for Heroes on the River, to start out, we heroesontheriver.org is our website. We just launched that about 3 months ago. Really the biggest thing for us is spreading the word. Making the combat veteran community know that we're here, all veterans, of course, but for us specifically, the combat veteran community, so that we can provide them with the resources that we have. Money's always something we need to operate, but it's doesn't do you any good, without those that you're serving. I'd say for us as a whole, just continue if you have any sort of passion whatsoever for supporting your military community. I'd say get a hold of the Northern Shenandoah Valley Community Veterans Engagement Board. They have a website. I know it's a long word, but there's about 160 of these boards across the country. Some are more active than others. I'd say just reach out to your community. Come here. You guys know the resources. Go to the Red Cross. They have the resources. Shenandoah University has the resources. But check out their Facebook page, see what they're doing and what we're doing. And, they also have another one through the Red Cross called Joining Community Forces, JCF. And they're another great resource as well, just like the CVEB is. And we collectively work together every quarter and come together to create a larger meeting and a larger band of resources. And we're constantly having new resources integrate into those groups. So come to these groups, come to these meetings, see what it's all about, see how passionate all these people are about what we're doing for our military members and their families. And just once they see that, if they have any inclination at all as to wanting to be part of that type of environment, once they're in there, they're going to see how much passion is involved with all the folks that are doing it. And I think that is really the way to get stepped in and being involved with our community as a whole, our military community as a whole.
Cool.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. I mean, if you're thinking about coming to the next CVAP meeting, the next one actually will be at the American Red Cross, November the 17th at 9 a.m. You've heard DeShon talk to you about kind of some of the events that we're doing at Shenandoah University, and so my last shout out is to Nicole Gatliff, who's been leading some of the programs, the veteran programs at Shenandoah University. She's been that person behind the scenes that's been making sure that there's been consistency around, a lot of different veterans events at the site. So
She does an awesome job, and she's willing to work with all kinds of folks as long as it's, helping. She's been a huge resource for us too.
All right. I think we wrapped it up. Come get your free burgers. Come to your free show. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
Appreciate y'all.
All right,
Thank you.
God bless America.
Yes, sir.
It's not just the new venue in town. It's a monument to live entertainment.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome
The Monument, the new premier concert and event venue in Winchester. 2 stories, state-of-the-art sound, delicious food and drink, and the best in live events. The Monument, on the corner of Loudon and Piccadilly in Winchester, and right at the cutting edge of live entertainment. Go to themonumentva.com. That's themonumentva.com for events, tickets, special offers, and more. The Monument. We'll see you at the next show.